I am not Huberman.
I mean,
that's how we start the podcast.
You kind of look like him, to be honest.
He has much better hair than me.
Yeah, he's got
a much thicker neck,
fuller head of hair, less of a pencil neck.
Yeah,
but he doesn't
less attractive.
He's less attractive for sure. I think you're much more generally appealing. Lexi, what do you think about the mustache? The mustache is new.
On Andrew Huberman or just,
no, on me.
I didn't even realize. I think it has to get grown out more, but
it matches my eyebrows nicely.
Why don't you shave it so it's just as thick as the space between your eyebrows?
Oh, so like to get my Hitler stash. Because I think that might offend some of my ancestors.
Oh, that would be a lot.
That's the only reason. No other reason. That would be the only one.
I would fucking do it.
Apparently, so.
Every person in the military in San Diego has a mustache, so I think I'm getting a lot of that.
He's trying to get into clubs for free and get free coffees.
I just want to sit in the front of the plane. Active service, active duty military. Yep, right here.
Yeah.
Right here.
They don't even need to check your ID or wear the uniform just because of the mustache.
The mustache passes.
You're starting to look like C-bum a little bit. Like the more I'm looking at you, like the more I see the mustache, I'm like, is he more?
Girl. Goddamn. She just got fucking points right now. If I look like C-bum from this far away, I'll take it.
I wasn't kidding last week when I said I like it. If you were to tell me I'm shaving my beard and gonna have a mustache, I'd be like, "That's I don't want to be friends anymore." But I'm digging it. We
have a very interesting hair eclectic. We have the mustache, we have the full gray beard, and we have
the thinning,
the afro puffs.
Yes, the thinning. I love it.
Yeah. If only we could get Lexi's hair on a ROM.
I know.
Oh
right?
my god.
With the mustache.
Is there a way we can? Yeah. I'll find a Snapchat filter one of these days and do that.
That is so funny.
I like it. So where in South Florida are you?
Around Fort Lauderdale area.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Is it humid today or is it actually nice?
Always humid. Yeah, it's been so hot. Yeah, we haven't gotten like a bad hurricane in a few years, but I'm feeling the weather is getting a little crazy. But I mean, I love it. I'm used to it. I just got back from Texas and that felt breezy to me. So
nice. What'd you have in Texas?
A business retreat with WWBA with Kendall Strample. I know Aram knows her.
I know Kendall.
Yes. Yeah. So I'm in her mastermind. And it was great. I feel like I'm still landing in my body, but it was awesome.
What was a big takeaway? Last question. Let's stop. Yeah. What was a big takeaway from the weekend? What did you leave? What did you leave with?
A talking stick.
Yeah.
I think my biggest takeaway was more like a reminder of the strength and the power of sisterhood and community, and when women kind of heal that sisterhood wound and come together, like we're really fucking powerful. And that I just want to create more of that where I'm at, because I don't really have that. Like I have my core group of girls that I grew up with, and those are my girls. But I think like not a lot of women, I don't like believe that that's even out there, what I experienced. So I would say that there was a lot of other like logistical takeaways, but I feel like that was like the main thing for me.
Yeah, definitely like a massive divide of the sexes.
I have a question for you in that department.
Yeah,
and I've kind of seen this sometimes when it comes to women hiring women to coach them, or whatever, getting advice from women. Do you find
what kind of do you mean regular coaching, business coaching?
No, just like fitness coaching.
Any form.
Okay. Yeah, so like people that are consuming your content, Lexi, do you sometimes find that there's like infighting between like the genders? Like it's almost like women are not supporting women enough, or they're like hypercritical of one another.
Yeah, I think that there's definitely, of course, a lot of that. I think amongst both genders, right? I think for me, I'm just around so much supportive woman. Like I might see that, if I'm scrolling, you know what I mean? Like obviously there's always people out there that are going to try to bring you down, or they're insecure. So they're projecting onto you to try to dim your light. Right. And that really just comes from insecurity of that person. But I would say that don't know. Like, I have a lot of, I try to always be of love. I've definitely gotten that at me, but again, I know that that's coming from a place of insecurity because I've been in that place of feeling like I need to bring somebody else, you know, kind of down for me to feel better about myself. And that was
Like a fuck you bitch type of thing.
like, yeah, I mean, fuck you, bitch. More like,
Like who she thinks she is.
I think like when I was younger, it was, yeah, just being jealous. I think woman like jealousy can kind of come up. So yeah, maybe not fuck that bitch, but maybe like, yeah,
Mean
fuck
girl
that bitch.
stuff.
Yeah.
Like that mean girl stuff. Like, oh, I love that bracelet. Oh, I love that for you. But it's
No,
like they
I've
don't
never been
really.
fake.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've
I
never
always,
been fake.
I
I
love
can't have
that
it.
that passive aggressive is always really funny. Like, oh girl, you look so good.
Oh,
If you
girl.
lost, like, and you know, like she's just either fucking doesn't like you at all, or just
Yeah,
that it took so much effort for that to come out of her mouth. I don't. I
yeah,
think the reason why we don't see as much of that in the male community is because we just don't give a fuck about one another
right.
in
I care
general.
about you, Iran.
Yeah, we care about each other, you and I, but you and I also operate at a much higher frequency than most people with penises.
Right.
It's
So,
true.
so
Yeah, I think, yeah, definitely like woman, there is that era of like toxicity, jealousy. And I think that's just because a lot of women have been pinned against each other growing up. I think as a girl growing up, you care about what boys and kind of what boys say or how they make you feel will then make the woman feel like she's in competition and that she needs to like be catty and aggressive. And it could even be like in career, like if there's not many women and you know, back then you had to climb your way to the top or really fucking be that person. If someone else comes in, it's kind of that competition. But I truly believe now that a lot of us are healing that sisterhood.
it was a cool remix though. You said sister.
We got to add that into a DJ track.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Colin will remix this. It's okay.
Yeah. But
So go
yeah,
ahead, finish that thought. That was a good one.
Healing the sister wound.
yeah, I think healing the sisterhood wound, there's something just so beautiful about like when women really do come together. And something that I did notice from the retreat is that we are our own worst critics, right? And I'm sure even you guys can
That's for
relate in some
goddamn
ways as
sure.
well, right? You know, we're so hardworking, you know, we feel we need to be the best and have that standard of excellence, but almost to the point of like tying our worthiness to that.
Yeah.
And it was just beautiful because we were just sitting around in a circle and we were all just noticing the wonder in each other. And it was just like activating something I could tell, like in a lot of women and even in myself, of like, damn, this fucking power right here of like when women come together in the sisterhood has been suppressed for so long. And like, no fucking wonder, because this is just something that I want all women to really just find for themselves, because I know it's not common for a lot of women at
And
all.
men too. I think men too. They
Yeah.
stay isolated. They don't communicate or share feelings or be vulnerable with each other. I think both. Yeah, sexes have all these problems. What do you think about when, or do you see that? Where's that line of women getting together? You could even go back to like a feminist movement type thing, and it becomes this toxic perception of men. Like, we don't need men, men suck, and that balance of men and women and masculine and feminine. Do you see any of that kind of stuff as women are trying to maybe heal the sisterhood? It might be part of the cycle too that happens, then hopefully they come back. But do those things ever come up maybe in a meeting like a weekend that you just had?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that used to be me, like when I was
Yeah.
younger, but that's because I was hurt by
Yeah.
men in my life. So I just was like, fuck them. Like, I don't need
Yeah.
them. I can just do it on my own. But that is the feminine wound within myself, like coming out. Now I've healed that because I've had healthy relationships with men that make me feel safe, and, you know, that I can really actually be in my feminine. I don't need to try to control everything. Like, I can just be, and he takes control. And I've been in those relationships. And also my relationship with my own father has healed in itself, you know, now that he's at more peace in his own life. So I feel like that, oh, fuck men and we don't need them, just comes from pain,
Yeah.
and experience. And I think that, of course, that comes up. You know what I mean? I don't think that it's right. I think that we need men, and I think that men need women. I think we need each other. And I think that when we heal the wounds within ourselves, that the same thing that I realized this weekend can be had amongst each other. And that's what I'm experiencing right now in my own relationship. Like, just that divine union of like divine masculine, divine feminine, but also I have my wounds. He has his fucking wounds. Like, I'm not just divine, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
but
it's not a state of constant being.
right,
it's
like
it's work.
it's work to fucking get there. And but yeah, I wouldn't even call that feminism. That's like misandrist, like when you're like a misandrist that just like fucking hate men and it's just in pain. But yeah, I think that's how we do it, is by healing the shit within ourselves and using like the masculine feminine principles, and then that's how we're even more powerful. That's where the family home is like healed, and you can, whatever that fucking looks like, if you even want that, right? But just really being able to create more healthier relationships in general.
Yeah. To clarify, when I reference the feminist movement, I'm not saying it's wrong. It's just how everything gets perverted. There's something that's a good cause, and then it becomes perverted and swings way too far in the opposite direction.
Exactly.
But yeah, Ron, what were you going to say?
It sounds like she's talking about effective communication skills.
Literally. Like
That's really all it comes down to.
I was going to say, how would you describe? Because we're seeing more and more of it in social media. People talking about divine feminine, divine masculine. How would you define or explain or describe those two roles in a healthy, like loving, dating relationship? What does the divine masculine bring? What is the divine? How do they coexist together? And obviously, everybody would describe it differently, but what would you say?
And I definitely would love to hear how you guys describe it too. But I love this question. Like Aram said, like literally fucking effective communication is the foundation, right? I did not know how to communicate. So anyway, but like I would describe the divine masculine in the relationship as like, without trying to be basic, the basic kind of like definitions of it.
Yeah, but even just use a regular language that people kind of.
Okay.
Sometimes people are using this language that's like, what does that even mean?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, there's so much of that. You're just repeating language in this, arena, in this niche. People are like, what does that even mean?
I know.
You have to lean into discovery. What does that mean? Know? So just regular, normal words.
I don't know. I think if I could sum it up, the divine masculine is like safety. Like it feels like safety. It feels like security. It feels like I can depend on this person, and you can have that in both. Like it doesn't even come down to just genders, as you know. Like we all have masculine and feminine energies that flow within us. Like my partner, he's very tapped into his feminine energy. Like he can, be soft and, just listen and just be. But I would say the divine masculine, in my just overall opinion, is it feels like a rock. It feels like safety. It feels like I can rely on this person, even just like in a survival way, like feeling like this person can protect me in a literal situation that like I need them to fucking act on it. And yeah, just having that safety of the heart, really just knowing how to lead. And I think the feminine is knowing when to receive, like knowing when to let that person lead. And I had a hard time with that when I had those wounds, because it was this hyper independence. Like I needed to be in control. I didn't feel comfortable receiving, like even compliments. I would be like really uncomfortable because I just couldn't receive that. I think this also shows up in a lot of ways of like overworking, like not being able to give back to yourself. If you're always giving to other people at the detriment of yourself, it's almost this inability to receive support, receive just like help, receive love, receive abundance, whatever that looks like for you. So that's how I would sum it up to simplify it in my own terms, is like the divine masculine is like the safety, the security, the provider, the protector. And the divine feminine is the ability to receive, the ability to just, she attracts, or whatever attracts, literally by it's like this flowy energy of just being, receiving, being in alignment within herself, loving herself, caring for herself. The divine feminine glows, she radiates. And then I think the divine masculine is like this, yeah, I would say like a rock. So that's how I would kind of explain it in my terms, but I'm curious how you guys would define that.
Yeah. For me, I like the idea of and you kind of were saying it, the man can create this container, this space for the woman to be everything that creative that she is and loving that she is and all that kind of stuff. The male in that relationship maybe can help organize, lead the thoughts, create the actual structure behind all these creative ideas that the woman has. And then in that space, the woman has the ability to greatly inspire the man to become his full potential. Because I feel like men, and both, you just kind of hold yourself back. And you need that person to kind of bring to fruition what's really inside of you. So yeah, that safety, creating that container, and then allowing the woman to inspire the man into his greatness, and then lead back, and that leadership goes back and forth. Yeah, so similar. Yeah,
I love that. What about you?
Rob,
I feel like he's gonna.
the masculine's when we put a leash around her neck, drag her around.
I feel like
I'm just kidding.
Go so left field, but it's gonna be so good. So I'm curious.
No, I'm gonna be what I normally do, which is oversimplify everything and make it applicable. So,
we provided no application, Lexi.
No,
that's what he just said.
That was drivel. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your souls.
Everyone is now dumber for having listened to you speak.
If anybody was listening to this in the car on the New Jersey Turnpike, they have now crashed and died. So,
on purpose. Purpose.
But if you want to be reawakened, stand by.
He's making up as he goes, folks. I think
it just comes down to the fact that life is extremely dynamic, and not anybody is ever going to fit one box ever. And that if people truly do believe that they are this one thing all the time, they're kidding themselves, and they have no level of self-awareness. True self-awareness means that you understand that you can be really, really masculine and really, really aggressive and really, really loud, but then you can also tone it down and be somebody else. And as a human being, your best attribute is to be a chameleon and to be able to understand and read the room and read body language and read tone of voice and read the other individual who you're communicating with in order to match that energy. And I think any good coach out there in this space knows how to do that very well. And that's what separates us from the prescribers of protocols, which is not a coach. That's just a calculator. We have plenty of those. But the people that really get other people to see their fullest potential are the ones who truly understand the things that these individuals are going through and why they're going through them. And it comes down to actually having open and vulnerable communication. So I don't know anything about divinity because I'm an atheist. And to me, God is just like Santa Claus. And if that offends you, so what?
We're talking about God, dude.
Yeah, but
we're all divine.
But divinity to me typically gets associated to a religion. To me, I believe in the power of human choice and the power of human ability. And I don't think we harness that enough. So I think, I agree with you, Jimmy. I think in our own right, we're all powerful. All of us. We're all extremely powerful. We have more power in here than we know what to do with. And the problem is we have these societal constructs that force us into these boxes and that limit us from being who we truly can be. And luckily for all three of us, we've been lucky enough to be in relationships or to have some levels of self-awareness to have been able to communicate that. And my curiosity, at least with how Lexi does her job with her clients, is, we can inundate our clients with all the macro and all the nutrition stuff and what are the best foods to eat to feel good with your stomach and what are the best sets and reps to do in the gym. But none of that stuff matters if you're still dealing with identity issues, if you've never even taken a minute to sit down and understand who the fuck it is that you are and what you want and what makes you happy. So how are you as a coach able to withdraw some of that stuff from people so that you can understand how to serve them better?
Welcome back to the Other Side Lifestyle Podcast with Jim and Aram. Today we have Lexi Taveras on. Aram dodged the question that we were trying to get deep with relationships between men and women, knowing that both can possess masculine and feminine, and we're going to get right into Right in the coaching, people.
That's it.
Owner of Embody Her. Is that correct?
Correct.
Boom. All right, you can go answer the question now.
I
We have to
love
do an
it.
intro at some. We have to do an intro at some point.
I mean, I love it. I love it. I think this is a very good conversation. So, to answer your question, that is, I think one is awareness, like how you said, people listening could also be just like, what the fuck is identity even? So creating a sense of awareness around what even is identity and kind of like turning the light on in the attic in a way of, oh, this is who I've perceived myself to be. And this is like kind of the labels that I've worn that are actually holding me back and are playing out subconsciously in my reality. Right. So really educating my clients, creating awareness around what even is identity and what even is like the subconscious, the conscious, your ego, your authentic self, really getting to the basics and creating awareness around those things is usually the first step for me as a coach, because it's fucking deep work. You know what I mean? Like, we don't really think about it, but when you are getting to your calorie deficit and you start to self-sabotage right when you start to make progress every single time, because you just identify as the chubby girl your entire life, or you just identify as like always falling off track your entire life, that is where the real work occurs. And so what we also do is have them create like this identity, right? So what does that look like to you? What does she feel like? What clothes is she wearing? Like having fun with the human stuff of like, what do you want to wear? How do you want to feel? But more importantly, what character traits does this person embody? What are her values? How does she talk to herself? And what is that gap between how you currently are now, your current identity, and the identity that not necessarily you want to step into? Like I always tell my clients, you're not necessarily stepping into this new identity. You're more so shedding off the parts of yourself and how you identify yourself that no longer serve you. So we're shedding off the chubby girl. We're shedding off, I've always struggled with my weight. We're shedding off, I don't fucking know. Like I'm just lazy. Like whatever labels you have, we're shedding that off.
Yeah.
And then underneath that is your true authentic self, which is why you have that desire in the first place to go on this journey for yourself, because you know it's already within you. It's not anything outside of yourself. And so that is really the work that we do, is creating awareness, educating them on that, and then peeling back the layers, slowly shedding off what no longer serves them through the coaching process.
Now, can you back up for a
Sure.
second? Because I think it's important to understand, like you were talking about educating. Are there at least like some definitions or some distinctions that people can use when you're talking about some of this terminology, like identity, or, when we talk about values and all this stuff? Can you just simply just go through 30,000 foot view? It doesn't have to be super deep, but just so people like who are listening can get some applicable information on how to be able to implement this for themselves, should they not want to go down the road of actually hiring a professional.
Yeah, that's a great question. So I would argue that it's definitely something you should get outside support with someone trusted, because I think it's really easy to be so emotionally subjective in your journey. And you just don't see your blind spots a lot of the times. But in the case that you do want to do it on your own, identity is really just how we perceive ourselves to be, the labels that we wear, who we perceive ourselves to be up until this point in time. And it's made up of, our current habits, belief systems, personality traits, and even if you don't know your core values, kind of like what your actions would indicate are your values. So I can say all day, oh my God, I value my health. But if I'm getting fucked up every weekend and blacking out and then binge eating and getting in shitty relationships, well, you probably don't have those values, even though you say that you do. And so that is how I would say identity. So I'll give an example for those who are kind of those type of learners. I identified as a binge eater for a really long time. Like I also identified heavily with having ADHD. I was diagnosed with ADHD, but I would just always kind of use these labels like, oh, I have ADHD, that's why XYZ.
Yeah, so
Oh,
I can't help it.
I can't help it,
I can't help.
I'm, I'm a binge eater. I'm an emotional eater. And so these are labels that I didn't really, I was just saying it. I was just talking, right? But we don't realize our subconscious is always listening. So we're going to continue to play out those scenarios. Um, and you can change your identity, you can shift your identity. It's that is a little bit more, you know, to explain it in simple terms, it really just is, I guess you could say, embodying that version that you desire to be, right? Um, Working through the shit that is kind of holding you back, like clearing those limiting beliefs that you can't be that person because of XYZ, because of the evidence that you've racked up to prove that. So you're pretty much building new evidence for this new identity. And then values, I would say, Layla Hormozy said this. She said that values, and I love her, sorry, her values are the decision making filters through which we live our lives. So that's how I would define values, is really just, the decision making filters through which we live our lives. I used to be a money and life coach at my old job, and we didn't even pull up their budget. We didn't even pull up your expenses, how much money, to try to figure it out. We would define their values. We'd go through a value-based assessment, and through understanding their values, you were able to then apply that to their actual relationship with money and how they're spending their money versus how they desire to. And so that's how I would define those two things.
Yeah, I
That's
think it's
awesome.
key that people actually, I think a lot of people just say, like, what are your values? Family, integrity, character, health. And they don't really know,
Right.
Prestige worldwide.
Prestige worldwide. Yeah, I mean, the one website that I'll use with people, it's personal values, but it's personal value, lu.es is the website. So it's personal values is all it is, but it's .es instead of all the way through. And it guides you through. You click this or that through this whole thing. At the end, it'll give you your 5 words. And I encourage people to take those 5 words and turn them into an action statement versus your health. Health is what does that mean? How do you use that in your life?
In South Florida, it's boats and hoes.
Boats and hoes. Yeah. Who's driving the boat? That's actually most so people aren't driving their own boat of their own life.
No,
they're just going about on cruise control, doing all the stuff, stuck in just old identities, old ways, not realizing that they have the power in themselves to make change and actually create a new identity. I think what you said was so key with I am this. Too many people are saying that with my whole family's been overweight. I'm overweight. I'm a binge eater versus I binge eat sometimes.
Yeah.
Right.
Or I overeat. I have ADHD versus like, this is a superpower of mine that I'm using as an excuse. And if I could learn to harness it, I was talking to students because I'm a high school teacher as well as a coach. I was talking to these students we're in a health class about ADD and ADHD. I'm like, this is a superpower.
Mm-hmm.
Like, think about every superhero movie. They're like burning their home down, shooting lasers through their parents, and all this stuff, and it's like a curse. But then once they learn to use that superpower and harness that superpower, all of a sudden now it's like, oh yeah, like an ADHD person, if they learn to harness that, it can be a superpower. So I think
I think there's nothing more empowering than taking somebody's diagnosed disease and turning it into a comic book. That's great. That's really good advice.
I know. I agree with you, Rob. I know you were trying to be sarcastic, but I absolutely agree with you.
Wait, you shoot spider webs out of your hands?
I shoot spider webs out of my butthole. It's an awkward superpower, but it does come in handy. Like if I'm falling face first out of a tree, I can shoot it out backwards and catch myself.
Hey, listen,
that's really good.
But they're all useful skill sets. No, and I don't say that because I want to invalidate or diminish. I think there's absolutely truth to it. It's just hard because I think can you imagine if we were able to have classes like this or have these discussions in school? Now, granted, most of the kids probably wouldn't be emotionally ready or mature enough to receive some of this stuff because they're just not in a place in their life. Like,
it has to come like from a natural conversation. Yeah. After teaching for as long as I've taught, people all the time are like, oh, dude, nobody learns how to balance a checkbook. They don't learn how to do all these things in school. Yes, you do. There's a class called Financial Literacy in New Jersey that everybody's required to take. It teaches you all of this stuff, stocks, retirement, all that. Nobody pays attention. They don't give a shit. They're 14, 15, 16 years old. They don't care.
Yeah. What's a checkbook? And why do I need it right now?
Like we all learned nutrition in high school at some point. Nobody cares. And it was taught in a horrible, boring, non-applicable way. Like carbohydrates are a good source of energy. We should have this percentage of our daily intake. You're like, oh my God, shut up.
Your boyfriend, your high school boyfriend, like, it's like, this is nothing.
Yeah, it's wild. But yeah, identity is huge. Are there kind of certain exercises that you might put somebody through with attempting to create a new identity?
Yeah, I mean, my favorite one is just like getting into a creative space, like kind of using your imagination and just tapping into your, how do you want to be? How do you want to feel? You know, how do you want to look? Right? Like really having fun with it, kind of seeing it as like a video game in a way, like creating your avatar, right? But also not getting caught up in just like the external, but also really highlighting, who do I want to be, right? Like, who do I need to be in order to do the things, to have the life, physique, you know, relationships that I desire. So that is like one of my main like exercises that I'll do with my clients upon onboarding, is just like creating that new identity. We do implement like shadow work, like educating them around that, but everybody's so different. Like, I think everybody's first thing is like, okay, I'm going to try journaling, and journaling might not be for everybody. Meditating might not be for everybody, although they're both very valuable and everybody should try it and discipline themselves. I think that when it comes to certain tools, everybody, like, I think you should try what kind of works best for you when it comes to actually doing this shit.
Fuck around and find out.
My favorite way to go about it.
That's got to be the greatest thing that's come out of the United States in the last 100 years.
The only good thing. But yeah.
Explain shadow work is one of those phrases that we hear all the time. Explain shadow work for the average person. It's like, what the hell does that even mean?
Yeah. So shadow work is just, it's pretty much this practice of making the unconscious conscious. And what I mean by that is, for those listening, if you ever find yourself avoiding, repressing, hiding from, blaming, projecting onto other people, like that is your shadow. And this is just a term that was brought up by Carl Jung. He was a psychoanalytic therapist, and he worked with Sigmund Freud. And I know if we all went to high school, we probably know who that is. If you took psychology at all. And so he came up with the shadow. And so the shadow is just the parts of ourselves that we repress, hide from, avoid, reject. And the more that we hide from it, the more that it is like literally like a shadow in the background. Like you can feel it underneath the surface, but you're avoiding it. And so then it manifests in other ways. And so I think Aram is a good example of someone who has a really well integrated shadow. Like, I think that you say the things that you fucking want to say, like you are authentically yourself. And I think like a lot of times when we integrate our shadow, like we can be polarizing, right? But when we're not integrated in our shadow, we want everyone to like us. We want to appease everybody. We want to make sure that everything is like, you know, there's no conflicts. There's no like anything going on, not within myself, not with other people. And that's not a great place to be in my experience, because it's just like this numbness, this autopilot of living. That's how I could best explain it. I'm not going to lie. Shadow work is still something that confuses me still when I dive way deeper into it. I feel like the simplest way to go about it is look at your shit, you know, transform your shit, heal your shit, don't lose your shit, but just really understanding the parts of yourself that you were made to not fucking like. Like I became very painfully shy at a point in my childhood because I was very wild and weird and goofy and loud. But people would say things like, people would say things like, oh my God, you're so weird. Or like, be quiet, like just relax. Like, why are you so loud or whatever? And so as a kid, you're like, oh, like this is something that's wrong with me. So I repress it and then I become painfully shy. So that's just an example of that. But the shadow side of fitness and health, I would say, is like, you know, body dysmorphia, relationship with the scale, how that might look like, you know, saying F you to your coach and taking control of your of your weight again by doing what you did last time, right? Like the shadow can come up in a lot of ways. But I would say I would curious what you guys know about it. Again, it's something that I don't really like. I feel like shadow work in itself, it's literally just making something that feels heavy and transforming that into something that can be powerful for you. So that's just kind of how I see it.
Yeah, I like the perspective of like you figure if the light side of you is what you're presenting to people, the shadow is the part that you're trying to hide or suppress.
Exactly.
And they're there. They're parts of our personality. They're there for a reason. And if we can kind of figure out maybe where they came from, then we can maybe learn to use them in a healthy way and accept it. Versus just, I feel like a lot of people, we all do, just suppressing parts of ourselves that maybe we think are wrong. Mm-hmm. And maybe they're not wrong. We've just been using those things in the wrong way. You know, even like if you talk like binge eating, what are you, like you had said the things that you avoid in your life. This is like the shadow type stuff. What are you avoiding emotionally that's causing you to go to food to numb what's really going on? Like if this is a pattern, I just posted about this yesterday, like these patterns that keep showing up in your life, these negative patterns, they're showing up for a reason. It's inside of you is something that you've been avoiding, and it's starting to come. It's always the boss's fault. You know, I fail every diet, and it's because you don't even realize that you have maybe held down deep inside, like you're not good enough. Maybe when you were young, your parents were like, "You've had enough. I think you've had enough dessert. I think you've had enough of this." And people are like, "Nobody's going to tell me I had enough. I'll eat all I want,"
Right.
or whatever it might be. They were never really fully accepted in some way. Right. So yeah, it's like the parts that you try to hide, and those negative things that keep coming up. They're coming up for a reason. It's because you have to start paying attention to it. Figure that shit out. But it's easy to say, figure it out.
Easy to say it. Actually do it.
Yeah. All of the soft skill stuff is hard because the soft skill stuff is what allows people to really make this a sustainable change for the rest of their life. And it really is the last barrier that anybody has to truly realizing their full potential and getting the results that they've always dreamed of. Right. And it just comes down to the fact that like it's going to be very imperfect and messy and you're not going to have it figured out. And the more you expect it to be an actual result, like it's you know, you drop somebody's calories, they lose weight. There's a one-to-one relationship between action and outcome. Mm-hmm. It's very hard to measure outcome when you're talking about inner work because you're not seeing that stuff materialize like this. Yep. Like it just fucking takes time and it's uncomfortable. And there's no, like one day you're going to have it figured out. You're going to feel amazing and body image is rocking and you don't care about the scale and your food relationship is good. And then 3 days later, you're like right back where you started and you hate yourself and you want to fucking diet again. And like, it fluctuates.
And that's what you have to have. But that's like with the hard skill there is you have to have that conversation at that point. Just the other day, I was feeling great about it. Today, I'm feeling this way about it. This is an emotion that I'm feeling. This is not who I am.
Yep.
Like that's where people will ignore that conversation. They won't have their conversation. They'll go, see, I knew this wasn't going to work. And they settle into that thought as soon as it comes up because it's the most familiar thought. And the only thing that gives you comfort is familiarity, no matter how uncomfortable that familiarity is. Damn, hit mark clip. I'm gonna put that goes on my Instagram only.
Fuck you.
That just came out. I don't even know where that came from. I got possessed. I was being channeled. I was being used as a channel. Anyway.
Were you Will Ferrell when you were on the debate team? I don't know what happened. I just blacked out.
Did I do good?
That's exactly what that felt like. Jimmy just had an out-of-body experience.
I did. That was weird. That was weird. I have a tingling in my butthole right now. It's wanting to shoot a spider web out of it.
Please do. And please do it right
I just blast up out of my chair like there's an airbag underneath me. Anyway, we go from serious to that instantly.
No, I love it.
We have zero problem with that whatsoever.
I love it. My cheeks hurt.
Yeah. What were we talking about? I blacked out. I forget. Rob was saying, yeah, you're feeling one way the 1 week, and then you're on top, you're on cloud nine. Then all of a sudden, I'm a failure. And then I cut you off, and I didn't know if you were going to finish or not.
No, that was.
I apologize.
That was
Rob's checking email right now. Thank you. I appreciate that, Lexi.
I'm just zoning out. No,
I think
I'm
Rob's
just-
on a FaceTime with somebody else right now. What's going on?
I'm just waiting for you to say something of substance. Lexi's been dropping bombs, and then you had your one like moment in the sun just now.
you're one moment in the sun.
That's all I need.
That's it.
That's exactly the amount of
Six-
times you finish in a sexual encounter, and that's all you need. There you go, big guy.
Quality.
I don't. I edge myself more often than not now. I try not to finish because I'm trying to embody a different identity. I don't want to be the guy that has to finish every sexual encounter. I like to keep something in the tank because how much of it do I really have left?
It is unnecessary.
It's your true authentic self.
Exactly. My authentic self is I'm a pleaser, and I'm going to give you the best experience possible, but I'm going to hold off myself because maybe I want some of that stuff in reserve at some point. And it's
You
inspirational
don't need
to
a
me.
PR every time in the gym. It's about the
Correct.
process.
Correct.
It's about the work.
That's it. I'm
There's
about
pleasure
doing
in the work.
I go into the bedroom, I do the work, I walk out. I don't need to have an accolade or an accomplishment that I have to wipe off with a towel. We're good.
That's right. Just so you know, Lexi, he's talking about if he's alone in the bedroom.
Which is typically the environment.
That's the process.
I have sex very often, but it's usually with myself.
And that's how selfless you are. You don't even have to finish. That's fantastic.
No, I'm just like I'm going to truly channel all of this energy, and I'm going to be process based, and I don't care about the outcome.
That's right. That's how it should be.
I know, and that's how I train myself to eat better and train harder.
Very on brand.
It is. That's what I practice that restraint with all my clients as well. I'm like, guys, you could push the food away. You don't have to come every single time. Like, these are things that are okay.
Good enough.
I'm going to leave this up to you, Rob, to take this to the next thing.
What, to clip that? You should clip that. That actually, but no, there's validity to that. Delayed gratification.
Yeah.
There is. It's a good analogy.
Delayed
Yeah,
gratification.
he doesn't do a lot of cardio, so usually he gets winded and just quits. Let's just be honest. It's called spade a spade.
Actually, I've actually been very recently, because of John Maljo, been riding 100 calories on the bike.
I saw that.
Like 3-4 times a week now, actually. Like, I almost feel like my blood pressure is below 180 for the first time in a while.
Tell us about that experience, man. You're trying something new. This is what we try to get people to do.
Yep, trying something new. So I'm trying to do more cardio because, how much more attractive and large can I get? Not much, obviously.
No, it's impossible, I feel like.
And the only thing really left is to challenge my cardiovascular health, which is not very good. And if I want to live long and help more people, I think the unselfish thing to do would be to stop lifting as much and put more energy into my cardiovascular health.
Rob, to see this evolution of you over the last handful of years of our relationship is very nice.
Thank you.
Thank you. Like, fuck cardio. I want to get as big as possible. And he is a self-proclaimed, I'm going to die in the next 5 years person. And now he wants to live longer. This is so nice.
Yeah, because it's, me dying too early will do the world a disservice.
I feel like in 7 years, he's going to be talking about shadow work and divine feminine and masculine.
Oh, I can't wait.
I'm gonna have those elf ears constantly.
He's going to start wearing like the shaman robes and stuff.
Oh my God.
And just walking around.
And honestly, a great shaman.
Oh my God. I know. Where I think I can really shine is at Burning Man, so I'll try it there first.
I could really shine.
I'll start this transformation at Burning Man. I'll see how it goes. Maybe we should do a retreat at Burning Man, all of us.
Yeah.
I don't know that I've heard of a lot of people not doing.
We could just go to a different place and not do Burning Man and just go to a different place.
Do all the same things without all those people.
Yeah, just have a smaller fire.
We could do that.
A little more.
Well, we have your parents' place in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, we can go there. It'll be a small group, but yeah, we can burn things.
Yeah,
we could sacrifice a human up there,
or a goat,
fine,
something edible. Something edible. I don't want to eat people.
I can get rotisserie chickens, and then we'll just say that we sacrificed them, but we didn't actually do the sacrifice.
Rotisserie chickens.
Yeah. We sacrificed the chicken. We're like, you bought rotisserie chickens. Well, we didn't actually sacrifice it, but we got a sacrifice chicken and seasoned it. Yeah. Is that one of your go-to meal prep things, a rotisserie chicken for $5? Do you recommend that to clients?
I love it. I think it's convenient. when you're not feeling like cooking, get a little rotisserie chicken. It's versatile, chicken sandwich, rice and beans. You could do anything with that. So get
Now,
your
where do you stand on all the mumbo jumbo lately of this causes cancer and that causes cancer and don't eat this because this will kill you and that'll kill you? What's your stance on that?
I think, like, I don't know. I feel like if you're consuming a lot of that, that's your kind of, might be. I think if it's being thrown in your face, I just don't consume a lot of that content. Like, I skip over it. Like, I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
I don't give a fuck about your carnivore diet. Like, if you're doing it, good for you. But it's just, I'm not going to live that way. So realistically, I don't care. I try to do my best, like have filtered water, look at my ingredients, take care of my hormones from endocrine disruptors. But I think that when it starts to get to this place of paranoia and, really having anxiety around things you're in your environment, that's when it starts to, that in itself is going to just attack your own fucking cells. Like there's a constant fear, paranoia. Like I didn't even grow up with the news. You weren't allowed to watch the news at all.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. My dad was like, no, like no news, and he hates negativity. He hates just like fear mongering, like bullshit things that can,
and it's not going to change anything in your life. You can't do anything
to
help any of these situations.
Like this person over here murdered, their aunt, and then this person got stabbed. It's like, that's how you're going to start to perceive the world. So I just think that you have to use discernment. And if you're constantly consuming that content, to me, that's more of a you thing. Like you need to be a little bit more discerning and actually clean up your algorithm a little bit, maybe restrict some pages and build a little bit of like your own discernment, And
it doesn't take long either. For people who are dealing with this on social media, it does not take long. You spend less than a week, if not a few days, and you're seeing totally different things in your feed.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And like I'll have things pop up and I'll literally click not interested, or I'm like literally not interested. And I curate my profile, I curate my feed to be things that I actually like, and that excite me and that bring me positivity and joy, and leave all the rest. And I even set boundaries with people around me. Like if people are sending me, like if it's fucking 8 a.m. and you're sending me some serial killer in my area, like I'm sorry, stop sending me that.
Like, I just sent cocaine memes to Aram.
Yeah, cocaine memes are different. Yeah. But like it's too early for this, and I'll set those boundaries. But I think it's just like you have to be discerning, because like that's on you. Like obviously have some sense of that, but yeah.
Yeah, and it's the same thing with your actual life. Like we're talking about this awareness, but it's radical acceptance is then that next step. You become aware, but now you have to accept radically that you are responsible for everything in your life. You are the one responsible for what's showing up on your feed. Yeah. And it's the exact same thing in your life. You're responsible. You can't blame everybody else.
Yeah.
I have an interesting topic that came up today. So a client asked me like how I deal with the social pressures of eating and drinking. And my very honest
I give in every time. What do you mean? How do I deal with it?
My very honest answer to her was that I don't get social pressure anymore because
you're 230.
Like weight wise? No, I'm less than
that.
Thank you.
220?
No, because I've established a very overt identity of somebody who's not going to fall in line with what anybody else is doing. Like if I order,
if you don't want to do it, you don't do it.
I order a beer. If I want to get water instead, I order water. If I want to eat the fish and chips, I order that. If I want the sushi and sashimi, I'll order that. So nobody ever questions me because they just know that I'm not going to fucking listen to them anyway. I think the problem is we still have too many people pleasing, and like, oh, what are you getting? Because I'll get that too.
Right.
And I'm sure you have plenty of clients that deal with this type of problem, Lexi, especially people that summertime's here. People are going to be way more social. So is there advice that you can give to those folks that are dealing with this type of an issue so they can be a little bit more in tune with themselves and be a little bit more honest with themselves and not cave into that type of pressure?
Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah, it's definitely coming up a lot, of course, like with summer, things like that. One, it depends on your goals, because I'm always going to hold my client accountable to like what I know they really want. But in the sense, it's like how you said, like you're a grown woman, we can make decisions, right? And when we are in situations where the people pleasing does come up, other people are only going to take your goals as seriously as you do. So if every time you text your friends and you're like, look, guys, I'm not going to drink, and you get there and they pressure you fucking a few times and you're taking shots when you said you didn't want to drink, they're not going to take you seriously because they want you to be fucked up with them. So they're not going to care. Right. And so what I tell my clients is like, be realistic with yourself. So like if we're in a deficit and your goal is to lose weight, and like we do need to have a little bit of like limitations, right? Just a little bit more boundary setting on the weekends, like be real with yourself. Instead of saying that you're going to be on track, whatever that looks like to you, but deep down you actually want to have a couple drinks, and deep down you actually want to order this, and then you feel like shit about yourself. Well, then that's when we have like that victim mentality and you kind of step outside of your power. But if you can be realistic with yourself and say, I'm going to have fun this weekend. I'm probably going to be a little bit off track with my, with what my current goal is. And I'm okay with that. And I'm going to take responsibility for being up a few pounds on Monday, for feeling a little bit bloated, and I'm just going to get back on track. That puts you in your power, at least, where you're being honest with yourself and you can take responsibility for your choices, versus declaring that you're going to be absolutely sober at your best friend's bachelorette party. I mean, hello.
Why?
Like, I'm not the fun, but
Well, I love that aspect of it, because it's like you're setting yourself up for disaster. Like if you truly want, like if I wanted to really drink, I'm going to really drink. I don't care what anybody else thinks. But right. I think the problem that people have is like the frequency of it.
Right.
Like, how often can I do that? Well, as often as you'd like, as long as it falls in line with your individual
And that's
goals.
the problem too, though. That's the problem too, is how many people, how can I get away with this and still get to this goal? You don't really want to make a change. You just want the quick fix. Well, how much can I get away with? You're already thinking the wrong thing, saying the wrong thing, asking the wrong questions. Yeah. And with that topic of like dealing with the social stuff, people just need to get better at delivering that information too. Like, I think too many people, how many times do you see this? I just don't see a lot of guys in my life. I don't really hang out with a lot of people anyway. But in my life saying like, I'm just trying to be good. And I'm just trying not to drink tonight. I feel like I hear women saying those things more. Yeah. But it's like, I'm trying not to drink tonight. You're just inviting yourself to get peer pressured.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, just lie and be like, listen, I've had diarrhea for days. I feel terrible. I'm not going to drink. And then nobody's going to be like, come on, drink anyway. Do shots. I've had diarrhea. I'm wearing a diaper right now.
I mean, I'm like literally a recovering fool. I was. Thank God we grew out of that. But I was a big people pleaser back in the day.
I think you're saying a big diarrhea problem person.
That too, but
you grew out of it. That's good.
You grew out of it.
I was so anxious. No kidding.
Yeah.
But I would be like, oh yeah, like my stomach hurts or I'm sick. But I think for a lot of women, they have to build that like inner power to not only say no, but like know your limitations. And honestly, I think that comes from honestly continuing to just make choices that don't fucking feel
practice.
Yeah.
It's like when somebody actually stops drinking, it's hard at the beginning. Like a year, if you haven't drank in a year and you're just a non-drinker, it's not hard. I don't drink.
No.
Nobody fights with you about that. I don't drink.
No.
Right.
At the beginning, it's hard. You keep practicing it, and all of a sudden it becomes easy.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, it's that like initial first few times, and then they just stop asking you about it because they don't really. Because at the end of the day, nobody actually gives a shit.
They don't.
Like nobody at that table that's sitting with you really, really cares what you eat or what you drink as compared to what they're going to do. They're there for themselves.
Yeah, but they want you to make themselves feel better though too.
You know
what
what?
Is she judging us if we're drinking? There's got to be a little bit of that. I don't want to be judged.
I don't know. I think that at the end of the day, most people that haven't done the level of inner work that we have or haven't had that self-awareness that we have, they don't think in those terms. I think most people are just skating through life only worried about what they feel and what they want to do. And they're not really. If
you're not participating, it can threaten how they feel.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
From that perspective.
But at that point, then they'll just be cunty and catty towards you, which is fine. Yeah. And that's not really
and as
a big
you make
deal.
change, you might end up losing some friends if you're really serious about creating a new identity and all that. I mean, I've had clients who would tell me like their friends are flat out telling them like, you're no fun anymore.
Yeah.
I'm like, what kind of a fucking friend is that? That's insane.
Yeah, and what's your definition of fun? Like, what does fun mean? I have to constantly feel like shit, be a bloated mess, and be hungover for 3 days? That's not
I want
how
them to
I
respond, well, you've never been fun, but I still hang out with you.
I love that. And yeah, like literally. No, but yeah, it's one of those things where some people don't like you to change. And I think sometimes that can keep people stuck in their current identity or whatever, because they know deep down they're going to lose people. Even if it's not the people that are meant, it could be your partner even. Like this inner knowing that as you continue to grow and shed, depending on who you're with, if they're not supportive of you, if maybe they get insecure, like you might have to lose this person. And that's scary sometimes. And sometimes that keeps people the same, but there's always way better waiting for you on the other side anyway. So
other side lifestyle.
Hey.
That was perfect.
Come on.
That's perfect.
You pay for the whole seat, but you only sit on the edge.
Hey, I love that.
Was that a Rosa Parks reference?
Oh, Jesus Christ.
That's a good one.
Wow. That's like the monster truck. Saturday. Monster truck. You pay for the whole seat, but you only sit on the edge. I did not make that up.
I've been to those, and they are...
I can tell from your mustache.
Very interesting places to go.
I've never been yet. That'll be bucket list. Okay.
No. Actually, no. Experience it once.
Go for the show, not for the people.
Yeah, I want you to understand what that demographic truly entails.
Never mind.
It's a special breed of people that want to see large cars drive over smaller cars.
That's fun.
Yeah.
It's like
and you know exactly what they look like.
Oh, yeah. So if you drive about 5 hours northeast, you'll go to a town called Daytona Beach.
Oh, my God.
In Daytona Beach, Florida, you will understand that demographic. Very nice.
Mullets are not back in style in Daytona because they never went out of style.
How about the fact that you and I went to the fucking ISSN conference in Daytona Beach in the height, Lexi, of COVID? Like, while the entire country is shut down, nobody's allowed to fly, eat, drink, whatever. Jimmy and I are in Daytona Beach at the end of 2020. And
was that Coaching Con for that one or one of those things?
That was ISSN.
That was ISSN?
That was ISSN. And I don't know if you've ever been to Daytona Beach, but where the racetrack is, that's called Daytona Beach Boulevard.
Mm-hmm. Didn't they have like some
Raceway Boulevard? Sorry, the Raceway Boulevard. And at the end of Raceway Boulevard, it hits the main drag where the water is, but right before that is a little liquor store, convenience store / bar, and it's got right in the front was a man in a wheelchair with an American flag draped over him, and what looked like to be, I don't know, a woman in her probably whatever, she was 60 or 70 years old, with, I don't know, maybe
that little dive place.
Yeah, like 3 or 4 teeth left in her head, and they were both drinking like tall boy, either Bud Heavies or Keystones, whatever they were, and I'm like, if this is not the poster for Daytona Beach during COVID, I don't know what is.
Wednesday at 2.
Yes.
Yeah. I used to
live with American flag draped over the guy was so good. Just loved it. We need more of that.
Daytona's an interesting town.
I think you made an upgrade by moving to Fort Lauderdale.
Oh yeah, I used to live in Daytona with my ex, and it was an interesting area. Yeah, it's fun.
Wow,
and that's exactly why I go to strip clubs in every town I go to, because I judge the town based on their strip club quality.
That should
if the strip club quality is high, then the town is going to be a town that I want to be spending time in. If it's low, then I don't want to be there. Like Daytona,
because you have Beach, to find the better strip club. Yeah.
Always. And in Fort Lauderdale, you have Scarlett's, which is an amazing club. I don't know if you've ever been there, but if you haven't, you should check it out. They have
Lexi, have you been there?
Yeah, I've been there.
Tell us about your experience there.
They have a great prime rib special.
Scarlett's was
they have a great prime rib
special. I went there to watch a fight in the back room, but I liked the Vixens better. Vixens, it felt like they actually loved their life. I felt like at Scarlett's, I was in like a human trafficking ring.
That's why Aram liked it.
Depends on the vibe you're looking for. I like to have a little bit more of that assertiveness.
Mystique.
Yeah.
A little mystery.
If I walked in there, I was like, oh my God, what's going on?
But not sure if you're here. Really? Okay, so I'll check
I
out
like
Vixens next
Vixens.
time I go to
Vixens
Florida.
felt like the girls were living their best lives. It was just a good time.
So
Scarlet
more.
was good. It was just, yeah. The
Are
end,
they here by their own free will?
right.
Are
I'm
they
like,
not?
what's going on?
Oh, that's
That's just my
terrible.
opinion. Yeah.
Okay, well that makes sense. So I will go to Vixens next time. I'm not going to. I will not support human trafficking. I will support a fun, safe, and two-way street,
Willful.
willful
Yes.
strip club experience.
Yeah, we
'Cause that
shouldn't
is
joke
what-
about it. We actually
Happy,
had a
healthy
woman.
strippers.
Yeah, yeah. It
We
goes
did,
against
yeah.
our brand with the sex trafficking guest that we had.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we
Oh,
do.
you guys
We're
have a guest like that on?
Yeah,
no
she
more,
has
the
an
owner of
organization.
no more tears. Actually, they're out of Miami.
Yeah, they're
Oh, wow.
wild
Yeah.
stories.
Crazy,
Wild stories.
crazy.
Yeah.
None of them. Luckily, were in strip clubs, so it doesn't make me feel as bad about attending them. So
That's good. Yeah. That's
I have to keep my soul
We
kind of
digress.
clean.
We
Yeah.
digress. Lexi, what are you excited about in 2024 for yourself, your business, and your sisterhood?
That's a good question. I don't fucking know. I'm just like
Great
taking
question.
it
Bye. Click.
and that wraps it up for today. But I'm just, I don't know. I'm excited just for what's to come. Like just life.
Yeah.
I'm taking it day by day. I feel like I'm just here living life.
I like it.
Having fun, helping people, and not taking life too seriously. That's where I'm at.
I like it.
Do you have a like? I know for me, I don't really think that far ahead. Do you have like a limit of how far you like to think ahead?
Lunch.
Like literally, no, but I don't know. Like, you know, people
Sounds
have
like no.
5-year plan, 3-year plan.
Yeah.
I have things that I desire. Like I want to travel, I want to go to Ibiza, and like I want to just do so much. I definitely don't want kids until at least like mid 30s. Like I'm definitely going to be a late bloomer for that. So I feel like I know what I want to feel in life. I want to feel continued freedom and always I want to continue to build wealth. I want to continue to help women. I want to continue to just do what I love every single day, document the journey, meet cool ass people like you guys, and just continue to expand on that. Yeah, in terms of like a 5-year plan, no.
Unnecessary.
Yeah.
I'm the same way. Anytime somebody asks, like, I don't know.
I feel
I don't
like every
fucking
time I make a plan, you know,
It changes.
yeah,
Always changes.
it's just it doesn't. Sometimes it doesn't go that way, and that's okay.
No.
So I'm just focusing on like how I want to feel, the life I want to live. I have like a life vision, but
Do you have a vision board?
I have a vision board on Pinterest.
Mm.
Yeah.
Oh, we need to get like an actual real one where you're cutting out pictures like a real serial killer in your house.
With the magazine letters, and you're gluing
Yes.
it on. Yeah.
Yes.
Under a microscope with like the forceps and stuff.
Yeah.
Tweezers.
Using like a scalpel to cut the letters out.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do
It's
it
like-
exactly like that.
It's
Yeah,
like it's like a diorama.
Yeah, it takes 2 hours to write out travel.
Oh my god. I
You
love
could have
that.
just bought Travel magazine and cut the
Yeah.
whole word out. But
Yeah.
no, we found individual letters. Terrible.
But
I like
that's kind of how I talk to my clients too. I'm like, you guys think way too far ahead. It's got to change 96 times before you get there. So
Right.
don't be married to this idea that like, oh, well, I was thinking about this, but it didn't happen. Well, it's not going to happen. It doesn't
Right.
ever happen that way. It's always going to pivot and turn and flip upside down. And if you can't accept that, you're always going to be on edge, and it's always going to feel like nothing's working for you, because in reality, it's not, because your expectation is not aligned with reality. Reality
Exactly.
is life is fucking messy. And I think Ferris Bueller said it best once, and we just don't listen to him. He said, life moves pretty fast. If we don't stop and look around, sometimes we might miss it. And that's exactly what we need to do.
Yeah, pursue your passions with the best of your ability with no assumption of outcome.
That's
Yeah.
a perfect way to say it. That's exactly where I'm at right now. Pursuing my passions, have a life vision, but like however that unfolds, I've been taught time and time again through my personal experience to like release control, surrender to the outcome, and it always turns out better than I thought I could even. So yeah, that's where I'm at.
Yeah.
And so
I
far
like
so
it.
good. So
I like it. Ron, do you have anything else to ask, buddy?
Just ask her her last question and let's see if she's been
All right.
listening.
Have you ever listened to our episodes? Do you know what our last question is?
no, I haven't. But
Well,
It's amazing. It's amazing that we keep getting guests who have never, ever completed, and I like that because that means they're process focused. They're not worried about the finish.
Here you go, Lexi. I brought this up with a guest recently, and she's like, "No, I haven't listened to a whole episode since you've been on."
That was awesome.
Wait.
And since I've been on, she said to me, I go, have you ever listened to a full episode? Do you know what the final question goes? She goes, no, I haven't listened to it since you've been on. And I'm like, well, I've been on since day one.
So
She's like, you have?
Period. Never listened to an episode at all.
Yeah. Rob's like, it's basically his podcast. It's like, that was awesome that you said that. You're like, it's basically his podcast. It's not even mine.
So
like, and I just went along with it because
I did go through the page, though, but I liked your content, so I did.
Well, thanks. But we ask everybody this final question so that we can compare and judge you to all of our former guests. Are you ready?
Yeah.
That's sweet. Bye.